So the situation not really getting any better for India in the Southampton test. In fact, it's getting worse by the day. The first innings coming back to haunt the Indian batting lineup. It was more of the same story in the second one as well. Is this test match out of India's reach now, or rather does England have it in the bag? That's the question to put after the end of day 4. I have two experts with me, former India captain Sourav Ganguly and former England captain Ganguly Hussain. Nasser, what do you reckon? 1-1 after this one?
Yeah, the weather forecast is set fine for tomorrow. Turning pitch, last day pitch. I know the Indian batting lineup is long and they'll show some resistance tomorrow, but I think England will win this game tomorrow.
And overall, India should be very disappointed with the batting effort, isn't it? Especially the first innings now coming back to haunt them. So many batsmen getting starts once again. That was the case in the second innings as well.
Yeah, they've been sloppy, very sloppy to be honest, for very good players. Soft dismissals, chipping the ball to mid-off of the off-spinner, slogging it up in the air off the off-spinner, run out today. Really sloppy dismissals. Not what you'd expect of an Indian batting lineup. Usually when they get in, you know, they go on and get big scores. There's people in this side that have got hundreds, double hundreds, triple hundreds. A lot of batsmen getting in and getting out. And getting out to spin as well. India's supposed to be very good players of spin. England playing an okay spinner in Moeen Ali, Joe Root. These are guys that don't hardly bowl for their counties. And the Indian batting lineup's getting out to them. So some worries there for India. You know, and they'll need to improve going to Old Trafford.
Yes, we were talking about Moeen Ali, Sourav, yesterday, and you mentioned how he's turning out to be the golden arm for England. Every time he comes on, he breaks a partnership, and even Joe Root did that.
Yeah, Joe Root I can understand. He bowled out of the rough, got one to spin out of the rough, but you got to give credit to Moeen Ali a bit more because he's bowled outside the off stump on a good pitch where there hasn't been that much turn for the right-hander, and he's got some big wickets. Rohit Sharma, Ajinkya Rahane, Pujara, Kohli, these are big names, you know. But I think there's a criticism there for India as well, the way they have gone about playing Moeen Ali. They should have attacked him a lot more. You know, they are born and brought up on turning pitches, player spinners who are probably a bit better than what Moeen Ali is. I'm not disrespecting Moeen Ali, but they've showed probably too much of respect, too much of defence to Moeen Ali, and probably they need to put the pressure back on Moeen Ali a bit more.
Actually, I was listening to commentary and there was the opposite view being put out, that is it a little bit of arrogance that you know you can play spin very well and then therefore you don't take don't take it very seriously when Moeen...
No, I think India under pressure, especially with the two shots Rohit Sharma and Ajinkya Rahane played in the first innings. You know, they feel that they can't repeat that mistake again. See, the different ways of getting out. When you drive to a seamer and get next to the slip, that's also another way of getting out. But if you've got runs more often than not hitting over the top, that's what a lot of these Indian players have. You know, they're not the defensive players, especially Sharma, Rahane, Virat Kohli. So take that option. Yes, you might get out once, but more number of times you'll score runs. What they're not been able to do to Moeen Ali is play him off the back foot, because then defending him so much on the front foot and not using the feet to him, so his length doesn't change. And I think that's where they have played him wrongly. But due credit to him, you know, he's done a big job for England. In 2011 when India lost, Graham Swan got 13 wickets and he's already got 11 in 3 test matches. So he's done a fabulous job with whatever ability he's got as a spinner.
Yes, and I'll talk about Alistair Cook as well, just how everything seems to have changed for him in a week. Everything's working in this one. But Nasser, you agree with what Sourav said there? Indian batsmen just not being able to take the pressure because, you know, the scoreboard is in their mind?
Yeah, scoreboard pressure and shots in the first innings. I completely agree with Sourav. You know, Sourav was a great player running down the pitch and hitting over the top, especially with the ball spinning in. He used to do it all the time. If that's your shot, play it, whether it be in a one-day or 2020 test match, whether you get out in the first innings. You know, Moeen Ali and Alistair Cook will be very happy if people just push and prod, and you know, that's how they're going to get their wickets. So I agree with that scoreboard pressure. That was what England did very well. Won the toss, bat and put 550 on the board, and then you're always going to have a bit of scoreboard pressure.
Yes,
I would just want to add, I think a lot of credit should go to the England selectors, the way they've gone about their job. You know, they were criticised, it's a young team, it's very easy to chop and change, do what the critics, the past players, the media say, but they've stuck to their guns. You know, they've said, you've put yourself in the hole, you get yourself out of it, and that's what exactly England has done in this test match.
Yes, well, let's talk about that decision not to enforce the follow-on. Nas, you agreed with that one, and then, of course, the job was clear. England needed to come out, score some quick runs. Everything seemed to go according to plan, isn't it? They did everything, they did well, no?
Yeah, they've done the perfect day. I mean, perfect test, you could argue. Absolutely everything. And maybe Chris Jordan has lacked a bit of rhythm with the ball, but apart from that, the perfect perfect test match, perfect day. The decision to follow on, you could argue one way or the other, really. I think England would have won anyway. It was swinging around this morning. The decision really was to rest their two big lads in Anderson and Broad. They looked exhausted. They just wanted 30, 40 overs off, put their feet up, get in a bath, have a bit of a sleep, and then go again. And also the pitch would have just been that little bit more spin for Ali and Root, etc. And also the way England played. They saw off the new ball 10 overs of blocking and then they smashed it. So absolutely everything they've done has been spot on. You can't complain with anything England have done in this test match.
Yes, they came out, they actually got the runs they needed very quickly as well. They attacked. Alistair Cook, Nasser, so much has turned around for him, isn't it? It's not just with the bat, suddenly his captaincy is great too. His bowling changes are working spectacularly.
Yeah, most of that, you've got to put credit to players, really. I mean, players, the senior players have stood up and performed. You know, you look with the bat, Cook himself, Bell, Broad, Anderson. Captaincy is very easy when your players are performing. When they're not performing, Broad, Anderson, Cook himself, Bell have been struggling, then you're left scratching your head, to be honest. So Cook's had a very, very good game, but that comes from getting runs. This is my point about Cook all the time. The most important thing for Cook is to find a way of him getting runs. You know, I'm not that worried about his captaincy. Captaincy can go to someone else. That is still not an issue for me. The most important thing and why England will win test matches again is if Alistair Cook, the batsman, at the top of the order, gets runs and sets the tone. If he keeps getting out early, it just it absolutely implodes from there. So most important, the best thing that came out of this game, apart from a possible victory tomorrow, is Cook getting runs in both innings.
Yes, and others have chipped in, as Nasser mentioned. Saurav, all the big players have made themselves count. Stuart Broad made this point about how there seemed to be a lot of pressure on the senior players, you know, this summer or leading to this summer to take responsibility. But now they're just expressing themselves. That's what Peter Moores told them.
Yeah, sometimes pressure is good. Sometimes pressure is good, but you know, the different ways of treating senior players. You can ask them to go, but there's also a way of putting an arm around and say you've done it for so long and you do it again. And then here again I say the selectors have done a great job. Now, they haven't shown the door to anyone. Yes, have a quiet word that we need you to stand up, need you to perform, because there have been guys who've done well for a long time. Bell, Anderson, although Anderson was fantastic right through the series, Broad, Cook himself. So there is a serious talent in the dressing room, and it just goes to show that sometimes dropping is not the only solution. You know, sometimes you select players and bring them back into form, and that's also a way to go about in cricket.
So Nasser says it's the credit goes to the players. How much credit would you give to Cook, the captain?
No, I thought he's done wonderfully. Yes, he's got some runs, but his field placements were a lot better than what he did in the previous test match. I think the gap in between has allowed him to settle down. I was hearing his talk with Atherton after the test match at Lord's, where he said that we are determined to change it around for England. And he's a quality person, not just a quality player. When you see him, and I've known him off the field a little bit, he comes across as someone who's strong, who's got certain beliefs in life, and more number of times you see those people, you know, succeeding, and I'm not surprised with what I've seen. His first 11 test matches he's got 700, so it doesn't come easily, and it's not that captaincy hasn't sat on his shoulders well from day one. So as I said at the start, I was happy for him to do well, because I think he's an overall a good human being in terms of cricket and personally as well.
Yes, I was speaking to Graham Swan during that Lord's test, and Nasser said that the talk was about how pressurized Cook is becoming because of what everybody else is saying. But Swan said he's a stubborn guy, perhaps isn't listening to all of that. Do you think he's out of the slump, the so-called slump, or is it too early to say? As a captain and as a
no, listen, as a batsman, he was always going to get runs. You don't have the stats that Alistair has without coming and getting runs. And he won't be that bothered by what critics say, to be honest. He would have been bothered about his own personal fact that he wasn't scoring runs and England weren't winning. You worry about what you're thinking, what your family's thinking, not so much about the critics. Critics change their mind very quickly. I thought he had a good day today, actually, tactically. The field he set to Dhoni up front showed that he wanted to get Dhoni out. He didn't just spread the field out everywhere. He's had a very good game as a captain and as a player. But my bottom line is that he must score runs. For England to be a successful test match side, I want to see Cook scoring runs.
We spoke about just what is going well for England. Nasser, so much talent in this Indian batting lineup. We haven't seen a big one from Dhawan, Chiteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli. Yes, Murali Vijay and Ajinkya Rahane have done well, but how long can the Indian batting lineup really sustain without these three mainstays doing well?
Yeah, but don't panic. I mean, the same things that Saurav has spoken so well about England and class players. Everyone's allowed 1, 2, 3 bad games.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, be careful what you wish for. When people go, they're not easy to replace. Some of these players are very, very fine players, and they will get runs. Don't chop and change. You learn that from England. Look what England have done. They've not changed, and they've come back and won. Give these guys a chance. You know, England will be very happy if India start chopping and changing and leaving these guys out. They will come good. What I'd like to see is a bit more fire in their belly, a little bit more fight, less sloppiness. They have the ability, Rohit has the ability, Virat has the ability. Just don't be sloppy, don't repeat mistakes. You know, Murali Vijay's run out today. Dive in, dive. Don't just, you know, walk in, dive. Value your wicket. You know, this guy made India a tougher side. I think what we want to see going to Old Trafford, or what Indian fans want to see, is a tough Indian side, valuing their wicket, no more cheap, soft dismissals.
Yeah, Dada, you better have a word with the lineup, isn't it? You need to tell them to value their wicket, isn't it? That's not what is happening right now.
Yeah, maybe this test match, and I agree with him. Hopefully they'll be back in Manchester. Well, it's not over yet though. It's not over. You still got a day's play tomorrow. There are still 6 wickets to be taken. It's not over, but I'm sure it'll be a better side in Manchester.
The reason why I asked this question and why I persist about, let's say, about Shikhar Dhawan, because there's somebody like Gautam Gambhir waiting in the dressing room. 5 test match series, 3 of them out of the way. Dhawan hasn't had a good innings in all of them, but he's not looked out of form. It's just that he's given away his wicket, or maybe once or twice he's got a very good delivery. What do you do as a captain? There's Gautam Gambhir, who's very experienced, waiting in the dressing room.
Yeah, I think he would be the one under the most pressure, that one, because he hasn't got the long history of stats like a Virat Kohli or a Pujara, who's been brilliant for a while now. So he will be under pressure, and he has got a slight technical issue that he's struggling with, and he's got Anderson all over him. So, but he's also someone that could put England on the back foot if he plays well. England sometimes struggle when someone comes after them and takes them apart. They overreact. Broad and Anderson get very feisty and fiery, and then England have to go to their lesser bowlers. That's why I would be just tempted to stick with him, give him one more test, say, go on, take England on, and put them on the back foot so they have to go to Wokes or Plunkett or whoever in the next test match. But he's got to deliver. It's like India have some good players. They have Gambhir, they have a load of good players on the A tour, back at home. All these guys know that they've got to deliver.
Yes, so Dada, one more test, and then what happens? If he still doesn't do well, then do you bring in Gautam just for one?
I think I would bring Gautam straight away, because I see a technical problem in Dhawan's batting. Yes, he's a young boy, but he's just not getting enough in line to the seamers early on. You cannot bat in England standing on leg stump. You know, every time he plays a defensive shot, you can see both the stumps, middle stump and leg stump, and it's been happening from day one of this series. It's something which he's not been able to get out of it. So it's a major technical issue. I'm not saying drop him, because he's done well, he's a quality player, but I think at this stage probably Gautam Gambhir could have a go, because if you look at the last 12-13 test matches India has played overseas, there's only 150 partnership, and you cannot be a good test team if your openers don't do well overseas.
Exactly. Well, Shikhar Dhawan really under the pressure right now, and MS Dhoni will just have to take that call. Maybe a lot will depend on how this test match goes. If they manage to save it, maybe he'll find his spot safe. But I asked this question to Saurav, not getting big knocks, Nasser. Saurav was talking about how Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli have done it in the past. They know how to do it. What word of advice, if any, to be when you get in, just how to carry on?
Well, they know it. I wouldn't give them any advice. You know, they seem to know it, and they're getting out in different ways. If they're getting absolute jaffers, I wouldn't be worried. Absolutely brilliant deliveries that are pitching leg and hitting off. And sometimes these guys have come over to England and they've played in very English conditions, and the ball's doing everything, and you can get out for 30s and 40s, and they're quite good scores. What amazes me that on good Indian type pitches, which are just spinning a little bit, they're getting out on those surfaces. I think they still seem a little bit laid back, a little bit sitting in. I repeat, England sometimes struggle when sides come after them. So I'd like to see Kohli get into one-day mode a little bit more. Look how Jadeja has played. Look how he played at Lord's. When he went after England, they didn't know what to do. So if you are in doubt, go for the slightly attacking option.
So basically just a tweak in the mindset a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, be positive. Be positive, because there's enough quality in the dressing room. Just be positive, hopefully at Manchester.
All right, final comments. How does India save this test match? Yes, they have to bat out of their skins. Captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni perhaps needs a big knock himself. Nasir, why don't you tell us what would be perfect for England? on day?
Just carry on what they've done today. It's going to have to be patience. Nowadays, you don't just bowl sides away. You know, India at least have a genuine number 11, so we've seen that today. They have some good batsmen before that. Dhoni's a street fighter. Jadeja's a street fighter. We've seen Kumar. You're not going to blow them away. Just be patient. Sit in. They've got another new ball. They know it's not going to rain. Rain's not going to save India tomorrow. So just be patient. If it takes till 5 o'clock. Test match victories don't come easy. This will be about as good a comeback. If they go on to win after what happened at Lord's, this would be a brilliant comeback.
Yes, India has a history of winning a test match abroad and then losing the one right after it. Sort of two big partnerships. That's what India needs, isn't it?
So it's going to be hard work. All you can say is fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, that's it.
Yep, I think that's the best term at the moment, fingers crossed.
All right, fingers crossed. We'll end it at that. Saurav Ganguly, Nasir Hussain, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll keep bringing you these two captains with their expert opinions all through the Grudge series.